This is it. This is the city where Donald Trump said these words.
Our whole country will end up being like Detroit if she's your president.
Donald Trump said that right here, referring to Kamala Harris. See, for decades, that's how people saw Detroit. Ruined factories, empty streets, bankruptcy, crime. The poster child of an American city that fell apart.
For decades, that's how everybody saw the city of Detroit.
But today when you stand here, it feels different.
Downtown Detroit is undergoing a major transformation.
Cranes touch the skyline, new hotels are rising, cafes are opening where windows were once boarded up. And behind me is the perfect symbol of that change. Michigan Central Station. For over 40 years, it was abandoned. It was basically a monument to Detroit's failure. But today, after a $950 million restoration by Ford, it's alive again. Inside, engineers from Ford and Google are working on electric cars, AI, and robotics. After shrinking for 6 straight decades, Detroit's population is growing again. So the question isn't just what happened to Detroit. It's, is this really a comeback or just a nice surface covering deeper problems?
So is Detroit really back, or is this just the beginning?
To find out, we need to understand how Detroit built the American dream, how it lost it, and what it's becoming now. A century ago, Detroit was the future. Henry Ford created the assembly line and changed the world. He paid workers $5 a day. That was double the average wage. And people from America and beyond packed their bags and came here. Immigrants from Poland, Italy, and Lebanon. By the 1950s, Detroit was the richest city in America per capita, and nearly 2 million people lived here. 3 out of every 4 cars in the world were built in Detroit. And it didn't just manufacture vehicles, it built the American dream. A house, a car, and a stable life that felt permanent. And culturally, it gave the world Motown. Stevie Wonder, Diana Ross, The Temptations, Marvin Gaye. These artists became the soundtrack of American optimism. And for a while, people thought it would last forever. But the same industry that made Detroit also destroyed it. When automakers chased cheaper labor, first to suburbs and then other states, and eventually overseas, tens of thousands of jobs vanished. Automation replaced people. Some factories went silent. And then came 1967, one of the deadliest civil uprisings in US history. While flight drained, schools declined, crime rose, and neighborhoods were abandoned one after another. By the 1990s, Detroit was losing people faster than anywhere in America.
But when Detroit's auto factories closed, jobs disappeared, and so did people. Houses like this that were abandoned became boarded up, and this became a common sight. Today, Detroit has nearly 60,000 abandoned homes that look just like this. This is a crazy reminder of what can happen when a city is so dependent on one industry, and that industry basically can collapse.
Head over to Packard Plant or Southwest Detroit Hospital. It was haunting. Streetlights didn't work. Police took an hour to respond. Tens of thousands of houses sat empty. When Detroit hosted the Super Bowl in 2006, organizers literally painted fake storefronts to hide abandoned buildings. And then came 2013. Detroit filed for bankruptcy, $19 billion in debt. The biggest municipal bankruptcy in American history. To many, Detroit was finished.
This is crazy. Behind me is an abandoned public school, and you can literally see that glasses have been shattered. So I'm guessing they've removed all the windows here to avoid potential squatters, people just coming into an abandoned home and just staying there.
But not everyone left. A few believed Detroit could be reborn. Mike Dugan became the mayor with one simple mission: fix the basics, turn the lights back on, pick up trash, respond to 911 calls, and tear down dangerous homes. Meanwhile, people like Dan Gilbert, who's the founder of Quicken Loans, moved their headquarters downtown, buying and restoring many buildings. This is Michigan Central Station.
So imagine this station for 30 years was just completely abandoned. Some people called it America's most famous ruins. In 2009, there was a city council resolution to demolish this whole building, but some locals fought that plan and were able to let it stay around until 2018.
When Ford bought it and announced a massive redevelopment plan. Instead of letting it crumble, they turned the space into a mobility innovation campus, housing engineers, researchers, and startups that are working on electric vehicles, software, and autonomous driving. The surrounding district will include restaurants, retail, public plazas, and office space that's designed to attract young talent back to the city.
It looks like Ford and Google, amongst others, are some of the companies and partners that are making this possible.
The idea here was simple. If Detroit's future is transportation, then its most iconic station should become the heart of that future. And now it's not only preserving history, but it's actively trying to shape what mobility could look like for the next 100 years. Revival didn't come from one project. It came from thousands of small wins. 40,000 homes were torn down or rebuilt. The riverfront was transformed into to parks, basketball courts, and bike trails.
So 10 years ago, this was all crumbling concrete and factories, and now it's become this very beautiful waterfront with little restaurants, a carousel for kids, and a lot of people doing strolls and walking their dog. Even though it's a cold day and there's not a lot of people, it's actually really beautiful. The flowers they've planted, I can see this place being a beautiful vibe when the weather is nice.
Sports stadiums returned life downtown. Tech companies opened offices, and for the first time in over 60 years, Detroit gained residents again.
And in 2019, it opened a hotel behind me, and I'm checking rates right now. This is pretty crazy. Look at this, showing as over $700 a night for a room in this hotel. You have some really nice stores at the base of this building, something called Tecovas. You have an Alo store, and this is all across from that hotel, Shinola, which is $700 a night. And this is crazy. But the Addition, a very high-end hotel that's expanding around the world, they're planning to open a Detroit Addition right here. 10 years ago, this part of Woodward Avenue was mostly boarded up storefronts. Right now, it's become one of the most iconic symbols of Detroit's rise. But I will say this stretch of high-end restaurants and hotels and everything, it's a very small stretch. You can walk the whole thing in less than 10 minutes. So I think it's a very small but very important symbol of the potential of Detroit.
Detroit's rebirth is real, but it's not consistent. A third of residents live below the poverty line, schools remain underfunded, and public transport barely connects neighborhoods. Crime is down, but it's still higher than most cities, and while downtown is thriving, just minutes away, there are still entire blocks that sit empty.
It's really interesting to see how signs of development spread here, right? So you have this luxury hotel opened in 2019. Over here, you have this new office building that's about to open in the next few months. You have an Addition Detroit, the Detroit Addition opening eventually. And then come to this side, you have a brand new Apple store that just opened a couple weeks ago. Tim Cook even came here to commemorate the opening. Obviously, we're used to seeing security inside an Apple store, but what struck me as kind of interesting here is you actually see Detroit police here. I don't know how the arrangement works or what's happening here, but it's just interesting to see Detroit police, not like a private security inside the store.
But is Detroit actually back?
If you stand in downtown, it does feel like a comeback. Restaurants are relatively full, tech workers are moving in, and the skyline is starting to change. Minutes away, people are still waiting for their share of that progress. So Detroit isn't fully back, but at least it's no longer dying. It's rebuilding slowly, unevenly, but with hope. And not because someone saved it, but because people here refused to give up. Remember when Donald Trump used Detroit as his punchline, saying the whole country would end up like this city? Well, Detroit's mayor had a direct response to that, saying Detroit had just hosted the largest NFL draft in history. The Tigers were back in the playoffs, the Lions were headed to the Super Bowl, crime was down, and the city's population was growing. And he said this was all happening without Trump's help. Earlier, remember that station that was almost demolished but then transformed and reopened? It's here where I see a letter on the wall that was written by Bill Ford, the great-grandson of Henry Ford.
The letter says, "Welcome back to Michigan Central." Michigan Central Station means a great deal to us all. In many ways, the building tells the story of our city. This station was our Ellis Island, a place where dreamers in search of new jobs and new opportunities first stepped foot in Detroit. But once the last train pulled out, it became a place where hope left. It became a symbol of the city's hard times, a moment to its struggles. In 2018, I decided it was time to change that by reimagining this station as a place of possibility again.
Thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe to my channel at Uptin to make sure you don't miss the next video. And let me know in the comments because I want to know what you think. Do you think Detroit can become a booming, bustling city? Yeah, there's a lot going on here, but it still seems quite empty to me as a visitor here. So let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next one.